Greetings, Shelpers. We have a bit of a different stream for you today. With me is my guest or co-host or whatever you want to call him, Dan Tansky, Monster Hunter.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Nice to be here.
Yep,
It's a very nice place. Is this your lodge? It's very wholesome.
Yes,
very nice.
This is where we talk all things paranormal and or spooky. Is at the lodge with the rain falling down.
I like that. It could be a Bigfoot outside, or you could see a UFO. I like that.
Yeah,
like
you never
that.
know
Cool.
what's hidden behind the tree line.
That's right. You never know. It's the story of my life.
But yeah, I asked you to come on for Spooky Month, though. Next month we should get your training arc in order for Fortnite.
Oh yeah. I'm still working on it. The thing about Fortnite is I can't see shit.
Same,
I'm an
bro.
old man. I can't see shit. I mean, I'm there. I've got a foothold. I've played. I've got my ass kicked, so I'm there. So we should do it.
Yeah,
we absolutely should do it.
I am awful at it, so we'll have a great time.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I'm like moving in slow motion. There are people running by me. I don't know what the fuck's going on. I'm shooting at my own team. I'm lost. I'm fucking lost.
And Odd wants to know if everybody in the pod squad has a Switch because he wants to play Mario Party, so... We'll talk.
All right.
But yeah, the reason I brought Dan on is because at one point in time, he was an actual paranormal investigator.
Yeah, I've done it I've done it since... You know what? I've done it since before Ghost Hunters. So that was like before 2000. I was doing it like right out of the service in the 90s because I thought it was fun. It was something that was fun for me.
How did you get started?
I've seen a bunch of shit when I was a kid. My grandparents' house was haunted. My grandparents' house was just haunted. Like for some reason you'd stay over there. It was a nice place. Like it's not like haunted like a horror movie where you're terrified, but like every once in a while at night when everybody was asleep, and I had bad insomnia even as a kid.
Right.
You'd hear footsteps. Like we lived in Chicago and like it was a brownstone. But I mean, it was two levels. Like one was upstairs and one was downstairs, and there were two different apartments, and they owned the whole building. And there was nobody in the downstairs apartment, and you would hear movement and stuff in the downstairs apartment at night, and you'd be like, "What's that?" And of course, the grandparents, I don't know if they were just trying to be nice or they didn't want to terrify a kid. Otherwise, I think it's important to be truthful. Because they were like, you didn't hear anything. That's nothing. I'm like, I'm not crazy.
Right, yeah.
We all heard this.
So you weren't the only one to experience
downstairs. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I experienced it at a really young age.
But,
yes.
Did they hear it and just lie to you?
Well, I think they did. Because later on, I did talk to them about it, and they're like, well, we didn't, you were a kid. So that was my answer. I was a kid. So I think they pretty much just lied. They just lied so I wouldn't get freaked out.
Yep, I've had stuff like that happen before. You were already upset enough. It's like, I would have felt validated, motherfucker. Like,
yeah. That's the trick, right? I'm like, well, then I know I wasn't crazy,
right? Because you think you're nuts. Yeah, when you're a kid, they're like, "Oh, it's your imagination," or "You watched a scary movie," or whatever the hell it is, and they're always like, or you're not sleeping well, or they always blame something, and then later on down the road when you're an adult, they're like, "Yeah, that shit happened to me too." It's like, thank you very much.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for fucking gaslighting me as a child. Now my self-esteem's destroyed, but I appreciate it now. Thanks.
Right.
Thanks for coming forward.
Yeah, and you know how many people would think you're nuts if you just outright told them, but yet people in your house are hearing it, but they're not saying anything, so...
That is true. And part of me wonders if it was also denial on their part. Like, if we ignore it enough, it'll go away. I'm like, that's not how any of this works. That's not how any of this works.
So outside of footsteps, what other kinds of stuff did you experience there?
What I used to call it, and I still do call it, I'm sure somebody has a very sophisticated term for it, but I used to call it TV talking, because it sounded like the TV was on in another room because you could hear a conversation, you could hear multiple people
but you
talking.
can't make it out.
No, you can't make it out.
But
So
you know they're talking. You hear
talking.
you hear
Yes.
voices from another room.
Yes.
But
Yes.
and you definitely know it's speech, but you can't make out what exactly it is.
100%.
Yep.
And sometimes I could make out the gender. A man and a woman, usually. Usually it was a man and a woman talking, and I believe, but that's all. That's all you can hear. And the only way I could do that is because the pitch was different. You know, one was lower,
right,
and one was higher. That was it. That was it. And then you'd go in the room because, honest to God, at some points, and this has happened through the course of my life, I really thought the TV was on because, you know, I'm a bit of a scatterbrain. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go and turn the TV off. It's off.
Yeah, some people would actually think that, you know, since you lived in a brownstone, they're usually close together. So people would just be like, oh, it's a neighbor.
That's true. That's true. But what I heard, like, you could tell the voices from the neighbor. If anything, it was clearer because we were on top of each other.
Right.
This was just garbled. It was like people talking into a damn pillow. It was very strange. It was very, very strange. And honestly, I mean, to get right down to it, I don't think human beings I don't think we have a good perception of time. I really don't, because a lot of the things, like maybe it was me talking to somebody else from a different time in that room. We don't know. I mean, I'm not going to jump around and say it was a ghost because I don't know.
Yeah,
honestly, I don't know what the word ghost means.
You know, everybody says like time is a straight line, but what if it's not?
Well, what if it's already like there is? I mean, it's not.
Hi, Shy Guy, by the way.
Gibberish. It's not gibberish. But what if the time? What if we are living in a simulation, and what if it's already been all planned out? And so maybe we get glimpses of the future. Maybe we'd get glimpses of the past. Maybe it's all there all the time, and we just can't tap into it, you know? All time, everything happening all at once right now, you know?
So if we live in a simulation, is it like the world that's a simulation? Are we a simulation? What?
Oh, I think there's a really interesting article I was just reading, and it was a physicist. I can't remember his name because my brain is junk, but he has proposed a new law of thermodynamics, and it's kind of an informational law. And he basically says, no, it's our entire reality. And we simply just don't know. I mean, listen, ultimately, okay, we're in a simulation. I still got to pay the bills. I still got to eat and drink. I mean, nothing really changes,
yeah, that's
right?
That's the thing about a simulation. It's like, my one brother once posited that we could all be like dreaming our own existences, and I'm like, I would dream something much better than this. Like if somebody, no, I'm serious. If somebody programmed me, they programmed somebody who's like too fucking like painful to get out of bed every day. I don't fucking think so. Like that's not.
Well, but the thing about it is, maybe it wasn't our choice. Maybe like some other, the other, let's just call it the other, programmed a bunch of simulations like The Sims, and you have one sim like me and one sim like you, and it actually there's no, like The Matrix. I think The Matrix gets it wrong because it's like there were flesh bodies in The Matrix. This guy proposes that we're just nothing but data. It's just data.
So what happens when we die? We get deleted?
Well, or we get reformatted into something else, or we go someplace else. Who knows? It's still the same questions. I mean, really, if you turn it on its head, it's really the same questions. But I find it fascinating because it answers a lot of my questions. Because let's say it is a simulation. Well, like I used to like playing SimCity, and I used to like playing it when Godzilla attacked, right?
Right.
Because I'd like to see what would happen. Well, in my mind, that explains people seeing a bunch of crazy ass shit that they do in this world, and why some people can see it and other people can't, because it's just part of the simulation to see what's going on, like some sort of grand design that they're trying to get an answer for. Man, I don't know, but it makes sense to me. You know, it does make sense. All the just high strangeness, insanity. If you view it in a world of just data, it makes sense because you can do goddamn anything if you're a programmer.
Technically, Zohar has said that technically blood, DNA, etc. is all data. That is true.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's all data. It's all data. And if you think about it in this weird way, right? We have the means by which stuff decomposes, right? Boom, decomposes. So it just goes back to nature and recycles. Well, what happens if you kill some schmuck in a video game? You turn around and the body's gone because if the body was still there, it would tax the machine. It would tax the computer. So in a way, we're doing it the same thing in real life. You know, nothing lasts forever because, hey, it's probably too taxing on the machinery.
Well, that's one way to look at it. So,
I mean, it really is. In my way, decomposition is like, okay, get rid of the body and just leave the goods. You know.
Okay.
Now I get some bullets.
What we think of as ghosts could be what, like fragmented code.
I mean, it could be somebody trying to see what kind of stimulus like affects us. Like, okay, for instance, I mean, I will give you my story about Alaska, if you don't mind, if you'll indulge me.
Sure.
When I got out of the service, before college, I went for a hike. I'm a hiker. I went on a hiking expedition in Alaska. It was a month. Okay. It was a lot of fun. Happened in the summer, early 90s. And yada yada yada. We're there. It doesn't get dark in Alaska. All right, it gets kind of dim. It doesn't get dark. So me and about I don't know, like 12 other people, more than 10. Okay, including the hike master, the guy who's our guide. You know, he's running the place. We're following him. We're all hiking because the trip is supposed to take us from a place called Kennecott all the way down to the bay, and then we're going to kayak with Orca. It was a wonderful time. Okay, but one night we're walking the trail, and to the right of us is old growth forest. I mean, there's nothing there. No human, I should say. There are no humans there. There are no settlements there, no roads, nothing. All right, to the left is a glacier. It's a gully, but it is a glacier. The funny thing is, people think about glaciers, they think, oh, it's all ice. No, this glacier is so old, it's covered with dirt, and there's shrubs on it. But underneath is a glacier. So there ain't nothing on to the left of us either. So we're walking, and all of a sudden, me and the rest of the group, we see about 5 or 6, and I would call them softball size, orbs. And they're like, the best way I can describe it is they're playing tag in the forest. They're zooming around the trees about eye level, little higher, little lower. It really struck me as kids trying to play in the forest. And I was kind of amazed. I wanted to go look. The guide was unplussed by it because I think the guide has seen it so many times. It's like, yeah, whatever, time to go, time to move along. Now, here is the interesting part. The guy behind me, who was a surgeon from Cleveland, this dude, and I'm going to swear, so I apologize. Adult only stream. Sorry, it'll come out because I'm an old sailor.
I have a mature stream. Go ahead.
All right, this motherfucker. This guy has a nervous breakdown. We almost had to helicopter him out because his reality would not bend to what he saw. He's like, "What was that? Wait, what was that? I can't understand. What was it?" And I can understand it because he's a surgeon. He deals with the material probably his whole life. He is a nuts and bolts guy. He has probably experienced nothing like that in his entire life.
He would have found a scientific explanation for it.
Yes. Well, I think probably to remain sane, he probably did. But at the time, the man's brain was deconstructing before our eyes. They had to give him a Valium. We walked about an hour or two down, and it was really touch and go as to whether he had to be helicoptered out. So this is what I'm saying. Like, maybe it's all to test our programming, to test what happens to certain personalities. It could be as simple as that.
Like, I'd be scared if it's like The Sims, because I know a lot of players who, like, take the ladder out of the pool.
We wouldn't know the difference. Mm-hmm. we wouldn't know the difference. We really wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah, that was funny though.
There are tons of stories like that. The people who see things and that just does not fit their worldview, and they literally break. Literally, they lose it. They absolutely lose it.
But
now, me, I've seen so much weird shit in my life that was like, hey, let's go see what that is.
When you describe the orbs, it's almost sounding like, in a way, a will-o'-the-wisp.
Yeah, no, 100%. You nailed it. It was people have called it will-o'-wisps or fae or like ghost orbs or plasma balls. There is a theory that says a lot of what we see as paranormal it's just intelligent plasma. One thing is, I can tell you it wasn't. Okay, here's the deal. It wasn't a movie. It wasn't explosions or like, wow, laser light show. But these things were lit. They were internally lit.
Right.
And they were moving. And if you had seen it in real life, you'd be like, what the fuck?
I'd probably think it's gorgeous.
It doesn't have to be yeah, it doesn't have to be. Well, yeah, you and me both, right? I was curious. I wanted to go.
So they were purple,
it doesn't have to be a Spielberg thing. Well, here's the deal. Because the light is not right, it's dusk. I had a hard time, and to this day, I don't know if they had any color at all. I think it was mostly yellow.
Interesting.
But that probably could have been due to the fact that, you don't see properly in different lights. So I have no idea.
Yeah, but if we're part of the Sims thing, does that mean we're all like one thing, or do we have like many different like players controlling different people? If so, my Sim is probably like screaming at the screen for different things, and my person's just like, nope, no free will for you, bitch.
Well, that's true. There's a bunch of, if you want to get into that, there's a bunch of theories that say free will is an absolute illusion.
Well, it has to be.
If everything's already been written out, what kind of free will do you really have?
You don't. Yeah. You absolutely don't. Because if it's already been written, that means the book knows, or whatever knows, you're going to take left instead of right. You're going to kill this person instead of walk away, whatever it is.
That's true. And that is interesting, because people do have these paranormal glimpses of stuff, and they go, well, I decided to turn left instead of right. Well, is that free will, or were you always supposed to turn left and not right? It makes you wonder. It really does. It makes you wonder about all the weirdness in the world. It sort of explains it, and yet it doesn't.
Speaking of the weirdness of the world, let's get back to your ghost hunting.
Okay.
Yeah,
sure.
What was a place you won't ever go back to, and why? What did you experience there?
In all honesty, probably the house I lived with when I was a prosecutor. And I say with because that place was haunted. And I broke my lease and got the fuck out of there. Yeah, probably that. Not Trans-Allegheny, not the Stanley, not any like of the big fancy places. It was the house I lived in Little rural Ohio. I'm like, I ain't going back there.
Okay, so if you're a seasoned paranormal investigator, what would happen there that would be so bad that you'd be like, nope, I'm out?
The funny thing is, like, okay, here's the deal. I am of the opinion that if alone at 3 a.m., ain't nobody brave, okay?
Yeah,
you get
true.
woken up out of sleep, ain't nobody brave, okay? It wasn't a daily thing, but it was constant in the fact that it started to affect my work and started to affect my life. So it's like, okay, here, I'll give you the timeline if you want.
Okay.
Like I got hired to be a prosecutor in a teeny little town. I'm not going to dox myself, but the town in the middle of nowhere. Okay, you picture like a Stephen King story about the middle of nowhere, Ohio. That was it. Okay,
right.
Really small. So for a while, I am driving from Cleveland because it really is in the middle of nowhere. I'm driving from Cleveland to get to work, and it's taking me fucking 5 hours. I'm not shitting you, 5 hours. So I was desperate to find a house. So I find a house, and I'm renting it because I don't know how long I'm going to be there. Well, I decide to go there a day early just to see how everything's going, because that's just the person I am. I want to take a look at this place on the inside before they set it up for me. So I go in there, and there's holes in the walls. There's holes in the walls. They're moving a bunch of furniture to the street. It's like whoever was in there just abandoned the place and left. And funny thing, there was a fish, a groper, a big fish in a big fish tank there. And the landlord is like, well, we can get rid of the fish. And I'm like, what do you mean? Well, we'll just put outside. No, you're not killing the fish.
No.
So I took a fish. I inherited the fish. So whoever was in that house, like, got the fuck out of Dodge, like, as quick as I did, as a matter of fact. So that was one thing. And the other thing was, like, I looked at the holes in the wall and I thought, well, it must have been kids or frat kids having a party.
Right.
And looking back, there's no university within. There's nothing. There's nothing there. Why would somebody be punching holes in the walls?
Somebody could have a temper.
There's nothing there. Yeah. Some single had a temper, or they were trying to fight something, or they were drunk. Whatever. It was weird. But at the time, I thought, it's probably just kids. Don't ask me why I thought it. But really, I didn't pay any mind to it, and I probably should have. So I get in. You know, it's nice. I got my furniture, the TV, yada, yada, yada. So I start working. Now, little things start happening. Like, my keys start moving. And I'm a kind of guy, like, again, I'm sort of scatterbrained. So I have a basket that I put all that shit in. I got a basket, man. All of a sudden, it's not in the basket. Well, what the fuck? And then I'd find them, like, in my desk drawer. I'm like, okay. And I went out of my way to actually talk because I had a feeling. I don't know what. Nothing weird had happened. But when shit like that occurs, you're like, hey, knock it off. I live here now. Appreciate your time, but I got stuff to do. I got stuff to do. Then things started to ratchet up. I started to hear the TV talk. A lot of TV talk. So I'd be in my bedroom, and then I thought, well, I left the TV on. No. I left the computer on. No. I got myself 2 cats. The cats wouldn't go into certain rooms. It was, like, very weird. I would come home and they'd be hiding in the closet, and I'd be like, that's odd. What's going on here? Then shit started getting really interesting because I have a shitty sleep pattern. Okay, I've got insomnia.
Right.
I shut the bedroom door. It's just what I do. I shut the bedroom door. Really no reason to. It's just, you know what? There was a reason. As a prosecutor, I was putting bad people in jail. I don't sleep with my head by a window. I shut the door. There's a bunch of things you're supposed to do, right?
Right.
But that's like real life shit. What started happening was the doorknob started fucking moving.
Oh, that's
doorknob
creepy.
Would move. I know, and I'd be like, "What in the?" At first, I thought it was an intruder. So I mean, you know, hey, I had a gun for work.
Yeah, you're a prosecutor,
whatever
right?
you think about it, whatever you think about it, I kind of have to have one, just because people get pissed off when you put them in prison.
Right. Yeah. But Shy Guys with Pride said that he guesses you thought it was kids from Autopilot going off of the general things that just happened.
I don't know. I wish I knew. And the thing about it is, like I said, the first time I thought, oh, somebody's broken in, and I opened the door, nothing. I would hear somebody bothering the fish, and I'd go out there. The fish was generally really laid back, and then all of a sudden I hear splashing and stuff, and I'd go out there, and no, nothing. This stuff kind of went on and off. It wasn't like an everyday thing, but it was constant. I don't know how else to say it. It was just constant.
No, I know what you mean.
It would happen weekly.
Yeah, exactly. And it just is consistent enough to be. Yeah,
it was consistent enough to be irritating, where you'd know, right?
Yeah.
And I remember one time, broad daylight. It was winter time. I wear a suit. Obviously, I have to go to court. And my grandpa always told me there was a 3-piece suit and then something else. So I wore a 3-piece suit, right? So I'm putting on my vest and getting ready for work. And I hear a voice. And I hear a voice as if it's talking to somebody else saying, he's putting on the vest. I heard it. I heard it broad
goodness.
Daylight. Like the person was right next to me. Now, honestly, I looked around. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not losing my mind. I heard that. It was a male voice. But look, in quote unquote the real world, I can't be like that. I can't let that affect me. Who am I going to tell?
Right.
My career is going to be over. My career is over. So my whole day, I mean, cases I prosecuted, like my whole day was wrecked because I could not get that out of my mind. Because who am I going to tell?
Yeah, and they're going to get, if you tell like your coworkers, they're going to be like, we need you in for a mental check. And
you've been working too hard, Dan.
You're a prosecutor, so they're going to be like, hey, my prosecutor here thinks that he's like hearing ghosts. Like, they're going to get rid of your ass.
My ticket's going to get punched.
Yep.
My career is over. So just shit like that, right? And broad daylight, not nighttime. No, broad daylight, like 8 o'clock in the morning. Boom.
See, that's like, one of the things that always bothered me about like paranormal shows where they'd go investigate. It's always like at the ass crack of night, and they're all like set up in the dark and they turn no lights on, and it's like, bitch, if it's really fucking haunted, unless there's a residual haunting that has specific triggers, like, oh, the guy only walks upstairs at night or whatever, you should be able to go to a haunted house in the daylight and eventually see something in broad daylight. You don't need 3 a.m. or midnight or whatever the fuck it is.
Oh, 100%. But if they did that, they wouldn't be able to use their cool IR cameras and all that other shit. So no, I agree with you 100%. There is a lot of things that you can see in absolute sunny daylight that would freak the fuck out of you. Haunted.
Oh yeah, yep,
100%. So that happened. Then it kind of got like my shit was still being moved around. My papers, stuff would happen, and I would talk to the house. I'm like, hey, I need to do this for work. Could you knock it off today? Could you knock it off? Could you call it a day?
Did it help?
Something really, I don't know. I honest to God, looking back, I really feel like I fucked up in a way because I think whatever was in there was trying to get my attention in the most desperate way, and I just couldn't connect with it. I just could not connect with it.
So when you talked about moving your papers and whatnot, it didn't actually answer you or stop doing the shit.
It didn't. No, nothing of the sort.
Okay.
I remember, like, I know the Amityville horror is a joke. It's not real. It's all a scam. I think the Warrens are con artists.
So do I.
Maybe the woman, she was probably better, but he was a consummate con artist.
I think when you're a con artist, though, that occasionally you will run into something real, just by dint of just by dint of getting a reputation. But I do think a lot of what they talked about was like overblown.
Oh,
if
100%.
That makes sense.
100%.
You know, like, if you see a ghost, like, walking across your kitchen, and then all of a sudden you're telling your friends at a bar, and instead of, like, a ghost walking across your kitchen, like, the glass flew off the cupboard, and, it just gets, like, more embellished. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah. So, okay, so Amityville's not real, so what are you going with that?
No, but the closest thing in Amityville I had ever seen in my life was I came home one day and my kitchen was not infested with flies. It was infested with ladybugs. There were ladybugs every fucking where. And me being the type of person I am, look, I've been in the service. I've seen some shit. I'm not killing ladybugs. It took me hours and hours and hours to remove the ladybugs and put them outside. I'm not killing a bunch of ladybugs. Now, flies, fuck it. All right, I'm getting some insecticide. I'm calling it. But not ladybugs. I don't know why. It's just, hey, look, it's a ladybug. You know, a kid thing. You know, kid-friendly thing. They were in the sink. They were on my cabinets. It was like, it was an infestation. It really was. It was an explosion of these guys. And it took, oh God, about 3 days. About 3 days for me to clean my house.
My.
And I can't explain it. I can't explain it. But that was like bizarre as fuck. I'll be honest. That one kind of like threw me for a loop. I'm like, well, if it was flies or roaches or something, it would be like a horror show. But these are just cute ladybugs. I don't know what the fuck to think.
So how long did you live there?
Well, here's the thing. Here's what broke the camel's back. Here's what made me break my lease after, oh God, I think about 8 months. So I broke my lease after 8 months, and I was out of there next day. So 3 o'clock in the morning, as usual, I wake up. It's a goddamn smoke alarm. It is just going off, just fucking blaring. And it's not something fancy tied to my house, tied to the electric. It's from Ace Hardware. You know, you put a 9-volt battery. It's a smoke alarm. It's in the bedroom. And I wake up with a smoke alarm, and the first thing you think about is not fucking ghost.
It's fire.
I got to get my cats.
Yep.
There's a fire. I got to get out of here. How do I get the fish? You know, all these things are going through your head. So I feel the door. It's not hot. I open the door. I'm looking around. Where's smoke? There's no smoke. I look around the kitchen. I look around the back room, the living room. There's nothing. So then I'm thinking, it's the fucking battery. God damn it.
Yep.
I woke up because the bullshit battery. I take my step ladder. I go up. I pop the top off of the smoke detector, and Toluca is God is my witness.
No battery?
There's no battery in there.
Yeah, I knew that's what you'd say. Oh my God.
There's no fucking battery in it.
Yeah.
And the next day, me and the cats and the fish, we're all gone. You win, house, because I ain't getting woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning every other day.
No.
With that kind of bullshit. You win. I'm out. And then I wonder if what was in that house maybe wanted to stay in that house and maybe drove the person before me out the same way. Because I'm like, hey, look, nobody gets left behind when they're with me. So the fish came with me.
So nobody told you anything about the house?
No. They were very cagey about it. They just said that the person just broke their lease and left. The funny thing about it is, because we were in the middle of nowhere, farm country, my house, like, adjoined a farm. So you could literally look out my back window and see farm country. You could see wheat and stuff.
Right.
I didn't have much of a backyard. I was sort of like the last house in the township. That was it. That was the end of the block was my house.
Did you ever do research on the house?
Fuck no.
You're like, no,
that was
I'm
too
gone.
close to home.
I'm just gone.
That was way too close to home. Yeah, I was gone.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, like, 2 doors down, because it was such sort of like an interesting area, that house was collapsed. The roof had caved in on that house. But next to me, the houses were fine. So I have no idea if maybe a bad storm hit and they had to leave or whatever. But that part of the area in the town was just a little run down. Even though the house was beautiful, the whole area was a bit run down. So I don't know.
So
I don't know, but
was that
was
the
it.
only house you've ever lived in that had paranormal activity outside of your grandparents?
You know what? As crazy as it sounds, yeah, pretty much that was it. That was pretty much it. I've seen some stuff, like, but I don't know if I necessarily called it haunted. Like, I lived in Columbus when I was practicing there, Ohio, and I remember one time I was in the bathroom, and I turned and I saw my wife come up the stairs. Now, this was normal because she'd come up the stairs all the time, but it was the middle of the day. And I said, honey, what are you doing? And then she wasn't there anymore.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, that is creepy.
But is that a haunting? Or again, is that like she'd done it so many times? Is that just a tape replaying? I mean, who knows? It was just an average, like, her walking up the stairs.
Yeah, they say, like, residual hauntings only happen after you're dead, but maybe not. I don't know.
She was very much alive.
Yeah, but you know what I mean.
She was at work. Yeah. But I mean, why? I mean, why wasn't it just, hey, maybe I tapped into something where it was just later on in the day or the next day or, the day before? Who knows?
That's interesting because I have somebody in my life where he lives with a roommate, and at times they can feel like people watching them, and sometimes when the roommate's not home, he will see the roommate, and the roommate won't be there, and they honestly...
House or an apartment?
It's an apartment.
Listen, man, a lot of people won't admit this, but I think apartments are crazy haunted. I think they're crazy haunted.
Yeah.
Just because you have so many people come in and out, you've got a lot of people who aren't in the best space.
A lot of energy.
There's a lot of energy there, and you don't have. Man, this is where I get into my sort of. I'm a folklorist. Okay, I consider myself a bit of a folklorist as well. And I read the old stories, and the old stories are about setting up a hearth or a boundary in your home. Apartments don't have that.
No, because they're usually temporary.
Have that. Yes, and you have somebody above you, you have somebody below you,
Yep.
you have somebody on either side. You can't make a hearth. You just can't do it.
Nope, and a lot of the historical buildings in smaller towns like mine have been actually turned into apartments. So we have one that, okay, I'm going to just say maybe there was like an old like police like district where they turned it into apartments, or an old ice cream parlor or whatever. So like we have like very historical buildings here, and like where I live right now is like, let's say a truck factory. It's not, but like let's say that. So like there were a lot of people like coming and going every day, a lot of people like pulling in and out, and it was that way since it started, and then eventually they converted it into apartments. So like
Holy shit. Yeah, you got the double whammy. You got no hearth, and then just a history of just tons of people in and out of there.
Yep. So we had it for like, it's been like a couple hundred years old. Like there are like 4 buildings here. The building across from us was the original building that they just converted. So like that one is like really old, and you see the signs of aging. And then the ones around here, like the one I'm in, was like built in like the 80s or 90s or whatever. So it's like, oh my God, like there's just so much. And the first day we moved in here, we did have like people touching us, like someone was touching me.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Yeah. Like, okay, so husband and I, we had just moved in, and my family had left, and it was just him and I, and we were on the bedroom on the bed, just like, oh my God, everything's done. It's finally over. And he like would like flinch once in a while, and he'd be like, stop touching me, or why do you keep touching me like that? And I'm like, I don't touch you. I'm not touching you. And then he jerked again, and he's like, no, you're touching me. Something is touching me. And then I felt like I got a poke too. And I was like, okay, hello, who are you?
That is seriously extreme for like the first time you've been in.
The first day.
Generally it starts, I mean, if I believe what I read and what people tell me to be true, generally it's that feeling of you're being watched is the first thing that hits you. But full on poking, man.
Yep.
I mean, if you think about it, that takes a shitload of energy.
Yeah, we both got touched.
Something wanted your attention.
Yeah,
wanted your attention. Seriously.
The thing is, I'm used to like seeing stuff and whatever, and I discount like a lot of it because like, oh, I'm just going nuts again. But husband hasn't had as much experience with stuff as I have, and he was the one that started touching first. And I'm like, okay. So eventually, I go to my landlord and I'm like, may chance, did someone die in our apartment or something? And she's like, oh my God, no, why? And I'm just like,
because the place is hot as fuck.
Yeah, I'm just like, okay. So
you know the funny thing is you say, oh, crazy again, but I got two things to say about that. It may be anecdotal, but I mean, in my history, I've noticed that people more sensitive to this stuff are either very, very creative, or, I mean, quite honestly, and I include myself in this, have some mental illness under their belt.
Yeah,
so
but that's the thing. They'll just say, oh, you're mentally ill then. Like, of course you're going to see, yeah, yep.
But that's like the drunken person who sees a monster. Like, the monster's real, but everybody will say, oh, no, you were drunk. Maybe that's one of the reasons why we do get to see the shit. Because everybody else can discount it, you know. It's like just because you're crazy doesn't mean it's not really there, you know. I mean, okay, somebody's suffering from something. Bigfoot walks in front of them, it's still a goddamn Bigfoot.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing, and that is specific to this culture. That is specific to very Western, very United States culture. It's not even the same in Ireland. It's especially not the same when you go east. Like my sister, when she was working for a major company, she was in a hotel room, and she went downstairs one time and she said, "Hey, by the way, did you have anybody come into my room at night? Because I saw an older man come into my room and walk across, and I don't know where he went, but what's that all about?" And you know what? They said, "Ma'am, don't worry about it." And they moved her because they knew.
Right, yeah.
It's a fucking different, it's just a matter of the culture. Because they knew, oh, fuck, that place is haunted. She's seen it. We're going to put her somewhere else. And my sister was kind of like, no, I was just curious. No, ma'am. No, you're going to another floor across the hall.
Yeah, like most of the things I've experienced here. But, you know, I always think of me as kind of like not entirely sane, but that's because like almost everywhere I've lived in my lifetime, which to be fair has only been about 3, maybe 4 places, and they've all had something in them. And I'm like, what are the odds of that? But like, okay, when I was really little, I don't remember anything from that place. It's just my mom and having her experiences there. And then when
I mean, Toluca, the odds really are you're there in all those places. So the odds are pretty strong, aren't they?
But like, yeah,
it's like if a medium goes into a bunch of places, they're going to see something.
I mean, yeah, it's funny, but my family is considered gifted.
Oh, okay.
If you could consider that gifted.
I was gonna. No, it also runs in families.
Yes, our bloodline. Yeah.
Yes, my grandfather, who's Ukrainian, who was very like old Ukrainian. He had dual citizenship. He would laugh because he said the thing about the West that the East didn't do is, like, he would laugh because he said that the West killed all their witches, and they didn't do that in the East. So, like, who were the fools? You know, not them. We were a Western culture.
Of course, they'll say Western culture is more educated, so they're less superstitious and whatnot. Yeah, you know how it is.
Yes, I mean, there's a fine line. I mean, I am not one for superstition, but you know, I do believe in ESP, and I've seen enough of it. And the thing about it is, you can be blinded by, oh, that's impossible. You know what? It was impossible for radio at one point. It was impossible for TV. Let's see what else. It was impossible to fly.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this stuff is like woo-woo magic.
I kind of think that someday we will figure some of this out.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's only a matter of time. I do not use the word supernatural. I have never used it. I don't like it. People say it can be interchanged with the paranormal. It cannot. Supernatural in my mind means beyond nature. And I have not seen anything and enough of nature to classify anything as beyond nature.
Right.
I have not. I've never gone to Jupiter. I have not set foot in a distant galaxy. I have no idea how nature works. And neither do any human here. We know how it works on this ball of mud. So, no.
But yeah, I do have like stuff that happens here. Like, I'll be like washing my hands in the bathroom and I'll see someone walk past the doorway in the mirror. Reflections are funny.
Have you tried to communicate? Have you tried to make contact? Or I mean, are you living amicably with them?
Yeah, for the most part.
Well, okay.
Yeah, we just have like people, like, it's just occasionally. One of the scarier things, and it's not even like the thing's fault, was that, okay, I sleep on a mattress in the living room because it's just where I'm comfortable. And my husband and I were asleep, and I wake up and it's in the middle of the night, which for us is probably like 5 a.m. because, you know, we stay up late.
Gotcha.
And I woke up and I'm like, okay, why am I awake, right? I'm like, am I in pain? Because, you know, I'm old. And
I understand that deeply. I understand that deeply.
I look down at the foot of my bed, and there is a woman in full color. She's wearing a blue dress, long dress, and she has like this bonnet on her head of some sort, and she's like got brown hair, and she's like leaning over me, like bending at the waist.
Oh,
kind of
whoa,
like,
Jesus.
Yeah, but it's by my feet. But I'm just like, hello? And she's just gone. But I'm like, I was looked at like really, really severely, and I'm like, I don't even want to know why she was looking at me that way. Like,
well, but you don't even know. I mean, if you think about it, was she looking at you?
I don't know.
Was she looking at something else?
In the past?
Was there a bed there before? Yeah, in the past.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's the thing. You don't know. Like, okay, one of the biggest things about ghost hunting is you go into a place and it's like ubiquitous. Somebody says, get out. You'll hear a voice, get out. Well, let me ask you something. If I barged myself into your house unannounced, what's the first thing you would say to me?
Right. Actually, yeah. Actually, I'd be like, who the fuck are you? Like,
well, yeah, that too. Absolutely. All of that stuff. I mean, absolutely. So I don't know. And I'm comfortable in saying I don't know. And I'm also comfortable in saying, look, if you get to anybody who says, yeah, I know they're aliens or they're demons or they're what, go the other way. Absolutely go the other way.
That's an interesting thought.
Nobody got a lock on anything. Nobody got a lock on anything.
Okay, Zara said, couldn't nature in that sense just be relative? Like how ages being old is both true and false, true for a human, but false overall? I guess compared to like the universe.
Well, but that is, as far as I know, as far as my perception goes, that is nature, because I'm the person perceiving it. There's nothing that I'm seeing that I've experienced that I can say this is outside of nature. You know, do you get my point? It's my way to try to get rid of, honestly, a bunch of different religious dogma. Because when you say it's a demon, well, what do you mean? That's a bunch of baggage. Or when you say it's an angel, that's a bunch of baggage. Even when you say it's a ghost, that's a whole bunch of baggage. And I've seen ghost hunters that I have broken up with the group. They're like, oh, yeah, this was the ghost of Mr. McGillicuddy, and he was here wandering.
Oh,
where
Lord.
did you get all that shit from?
Yeah.
All we saw was an orb.
Right.
That orb didn't have a name tag that said McGillicuddy on it.
Right, yeah,
You're
exactly.
just making the rest of the shit up. You know, that's how I try to keep myself honest. You know, that's what works for me.
You know, when I see something, my first thing is like, okay, you saw, you know, some dust particles, or you saw like your hair like moving out of the corner of your eye because I have long hair, or, you know, I do that to myself where I do like a checklist, like it could be this, it could be that, and if anything seems
that's the perfect thing to do,
the remotely plausible, I'm like, not paranormal, I saw this, and then I just go about my day. Like sometimes I like see an object like move in front of me across the sink, and I'm like, okay, that one is not so easy to explain, but that's only like happened once, so I'm like, okay, we're good. But you know,
that is perfect. That's perfect, because our brains do that. There was a whole, I don't know if you know about it, but there is a whole experiment about how they had people, like, we want you to watch this basketball game, and you tell us of the two teams who scored the most. Yeah, and people did not see the gorilla, and they got upset. They're like, oh, you put that in. There are so many things we do perceive and don't. It's staggering. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with going through that checklist.
Because I saw that video, and it's like people passing a basketball back and forth, and it's like they want you to count how many times the basketball gets passed, and people are so busy counting and focusing that a gorilla literally walks through like the middle of the screen, even does like a little dance, and then goes off. And like the vast majority of people did not see the damn gorilla.
No, in fact, as far as the record goes, they were upset. They thought that it was put it in after the fact. They're like, you did this on purpose.
Nope.
You're trying to trick me. I'm like, no. And the scientists are like, nope.
It was always literally there all along. And you want to know how I know? I saw the damn gorilla.
Did you really? Hey, God, that's fantastic.
I was counting.
That's fantastic.
And I noticed, like, at the same time, like, something had shifted. And I'm like, something is going on here. But as I'm thinking about this, I'm keeping count. And I'm like, something is wrong here. So I'm like keeping track, and my eyes scan up as I'm counting. And I'm like, okay, there it is. But in that moment, I would have lost the count. You know what I mean?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Much respect. You know, that very few people. It has been done. People have noticed it, but very few people do. So you are very perceptive. So I think that's awesome.
But
a lot of people just don't do it.
But
you know?
but see, that's our minds, and we try to figure out what is going on. And see, one of the things is, since I have experienced paranormal, one of the things is like, I'm looking at it, but like, not everything is. Like, everybody thinks that the minute you go into a haunted house, you see haunted shit, and that's not what happens. I said,
normal ghost hunting is exercises
boring.
and boredom.
Yeah, it's like fishing.
Exercises and boredom.
It's like fishing.
Yeah, it really is.
Will I get a bite? If I get a bite, is it a fish? Is it a twig? Is it, did I get my line caught on the bottom of the boat? You never know. So, like, that's the way I look at it. Like, people think, like I said, my apartment has something in it on and off. And it's like, it's not here every day. It's not even here every week. Sometimes I just see somebody walking by the bathroom door. Sometimes I see someone in my kitchen, because we have a open kitchen living room. We have a kitchenette. Mm-hmm. So sometimes somebody will just walk like a few feet in my kitchen, and that's it. Sometimes I will, hear something, and I'll be like, well, that has to be like a neighbor's television, because literally our walls are not that thick. But, and the thing is, smells do carry in our apartment building. So, like, if I catch, like, cigarette smoke, I'm like, somebody could be smoking outside. So, anytime I smell something different, I have to literally discount it no matter what it is, because it could just simply be, like, we don't live too far from a place with, like, a bunch of different smells. And if the wind blows right, we can actually smell that coming into our apartment. So, like, every other, like, paranormal thing, we were like, well, we can't talk about the smell. That could be somebody cooking dinner. That could be somebody washing clothes or whatever.
Yeah, that's why, honestly, it's so hard to do any sort of investigation for whatever, the paranormal outside. Because you can hear a sound depending on the atmosphere and shit miles away, or you can smell something that happened miles away. It's very hard. It's very hard. Your best bet, if you really want to get in and do something, is to find some place sort of isolated and out of the way. Like, I just sent you a picture, and I took that in the bottom of an abandoned bank on the south side of Chicago. And I don't know if you can put it up or whatever, but maybe in your Discord later.
I don't have my keyboard in front of me now, so I'll have to try to do it later.
Okay, yeah, you can put it on your Discord. But, I mean, if you look at that was a picture I took, and that image looks like it is 6 inches away from my camera.
Right.
And I didn't see shit.
Right. The one picture you showed me once, if that's the picture, people just be like, that's a doll.
Woman, the little girl.
Yeah, people just be like, that's a doll.
I can, the only thing, see, here's the thing. The only thing I can say is, it's not a doll. I was in the basement of a long abandoned bank on the south side of Chicago. I was given permission to hunt there. No idea what that is. There was nothing down there. It was just empty space. So and that's the thing, right? At a certain point, it's like, I don't care who I'm old enough where I don't care who I'm convincing or not. It's like, I know. I know. So that's the thing. I'm not in the. One of the reasons why I liked to do that stuff is not to go to like Trans-Allegheny or to go places. It was fun, sure, but I had the best times when I went to a small house with a family, and I was able to say to them, you're not alone.
Yeah, because you do feel crazy. You're isolated.
Yeah, you feel crazy, alone. Nobody will believe you. And when you have somebody that's going to say, you're not alone, I see it too. I think, and I've been told this, it takes a huge weight off their chest.
Yep. Okay.
It's like, we don't know what to do with it, but at least we're not alone.
Shy Guy said, IMO, people rely on physicality way too much. Energy like that. Okay. Or lack of a better wording, is much stronger and more true. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble seeing today for some reason, but yeah, that's what he said. But yeah, we all rely on our senses.
Physicality, materialism. Yes,
yeah.
I 100% believe that. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I agree.
What is the
and it's
best?
almost like they become. Go on. I'm sorry.
What is the best piece of evidence you've ever gotten? Is it that photo or?
No, I don't know. Well, I could look for it. It's a video. Okay,
No.
here's the background.
No, just tell me. Yeah. Just where were
here's
you
the
and
background
what is it?
And I have it. It was in Cleveland. It was a family, and their daughter. They said their daughter was being haunted, and something was bothering their daughter, and that was a fucking monster in the closet. And like to this day, I feel like I fucked shit up because I probably should have gone in the closet. But it was like so much of a trope for me. It's like, okay, monster in the closet, sure. So we did the whole house. We put up cameras. We got videotape. We got recordings. Nothing hit. Nothing. It was only when we were about to take stuff down. We have a camera from the girl's bed looking into the hallway and the closet, because the hallway there was a door to the hallway that was open and the closet was right next to it. There's a face in the closet. It just appears.
Did you show that to the family?
Yeah, we did. And she doesn't stay. Well, this was years ago. She doesn't stay in that room anymore.
Right.
She doesn't stay. A lot of my team felt it was, this must be some relative of hers. And I'm like, we don't know that. Some other people on my team said, it looks like a gray alien. I was kind of more inclined to say it was that, because it did look like the almond-shaped head and the big eyes. And I wish I had gone in that closet, shut the door, and at least spent 10 minutes in there. But right. I didn't. That was one of my biggest captures as far as proof, quote unquote, and my biggest regret, because I should have done it and I didn't do it. So yeah, that was it. That was a huge one.
I don't know. If it were somebody in her family, you would think it wouldn't upset her so goddamn much.
Yeah, wouldn't be scaring the fuck out of her, right?
Yeah, no.
Wouldn't just peek out.
I've had family members visit me, and no, that's not the way it feels. It's not scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
And it was not, I would say, just on the outside looking in, it was not a very comforting image. I mean, in my mind, it does look like one of the classic gray aliens. So I don't think that's Grandma. Why would Grandma come back looking like a fucking alien?
Yeah.
I don't see it.
People have patterns in their head, so we see faces where there are none, so people just say, it's that.
Well, I mean, it came from nothing. I mean, literally what happened was there was interference in the camera. We had, I think her name was Jennifer. She went to go collect the camera, but before she went to collect the camera, there was interference, and then you saw a face. And as she gets closer to the door, the face disappears. She goes to the camera and turns it off. So
that's freaky.
Yeah, I don't know what to say to that.
I wonder if switching rooms actually solved that, because sometimes it doesn't.
I know, but I mean, one of the good things, we were able to tell them, yes, there's something there, which took a lot of stress off everybody, and it brought a certain amount. I assume they told the daughter, and they believed the daughter. Part of me thinks they believe the daughter because they invite us into their home to begin with.
Right.
So maybe they had caught something or had some sort of experience. I don't know. But I mean, I gave them the proof, gave them what we got. And, I hope things got better. Like I said, there is, in my mind, there's not a lot of ways to, get rid of something like that. Be gone, spirit. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. It's mostly trying to live with it. Or, if shit does get crazy, there are things, but they're very drastic. It's like the nuclear option if you want to do shit like that. And it's not everybody wants to do that.
True.
Not everybody wants to go the nuclear option.
So that's interesting. So was that the scariest hunt, or was that just your best evidence?
Oh no, that was not. It was not scary.
So what was your what was a hunt you went on where you're like, yeah, I wouldn't do this again?
Honestly, probably nothing. I'll be really truthful. The thing that gave me look, everybody startles. I startle. Everybody startles.
Yep.
That's the basis of a jump scare. This was the most interesting thing. It was an apartment building. A woman was claiming that of all things, she would come in and then she would see it rain in her living room.
Whoa, that's interesting.
I was intrigued by it. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, she just see it happen. I mean, there was no water. Or
but
anything.
even still, to see it happen,
yeah,
like
so,
if she's not, yeah.
Yeah, and she felt as though she was being watched, and she felt as though she was uncomfortable being there. She was just uncomfortable being there. And honestly, we didn't capture a damn thing. But what happened was, I and the rest of the group, normally we don't have the apartment, the homeowner stay. Unless they want to, we say, no, go hang out with somebody, we'll do this. And we spend the whole night there. I remember, because, I mean, this isn't like a full-time thing. I was working, so I dozed off. I woke up, and you can say, okay, yeah, you were in the sort of that hypnagogic liminal state. But I tell you what, I've never had anything like this happen to me before or since in that state. I literally experienced something from a horror movie. It was like so cut and paste horror movie that looking back at it now, I'm going, well, that was right out of a fucking horror movie. I woke up, it was raining in the room.
Okay.
Obviously, I wasn't up, but I woke up, it was raining in the room, and this little dark-haired girl started screaming at me and charged me.
Oh my goodness.
My friends saw me waving my arms and kicking as I fell off the couch.
Right.
They saw me waving my arms and kicking as I fell off the couch.
Interesting that it would be.
That was, yeah.
Yeah. Like,
yeah, that was the most startling hunt I've ever been at. That was the most startling thing I've ever been at.
Yeah, that's interesting to me that you would have, like, even if it was in a suggestible state, to have that same, like, visual happen.
I've never had that before. I've never had anything like that happen in my life. So why then was my brain primed? But I mean, okay, primed for rain, okay, but not some, like, Wednesday-looking girl from The Ring come at me and try to attack me. I mean, it was weird.
Had she ever experienced like a girl there, or was it just the rain?
Nope, nothing like that.
Interesting.
Nothing like that. And I told her what we saw, and she was like, "Well, that was interesting." And I said, "You're damn right it was."
Yeah. Exactly.
You're damn right it was interesting. So yeah, that's the only thing I can fall back on. I don't know. I to this day I can't say yes that really happened. No, it didn't. But like anecdotally, that was really fucking weird.
So
and it was shocking.
Do you
and I will
still
remember
go
for
on
the rest
hunts?
of my life. I have not done it in a while. I have not done it. I've been thinking about getting back into it. On my stream for Halloween, I'm going to go because I live next to a forest. I'm going to go out and do at night sort of investigation for everybody if they want to come by. It'll probably be about maybe an hour or two long because the forest gets a little interesting at night. It gets a little interesting. So we'll see. We'll see if we pick up
interesting
anything.
how?
Probably not. Well, I'm Irish, so I will tell you that I am absolutely sure there's a Fey mound near my house. And when I say Fey, it's just another word for, I don't know what the fuck it is.
Right.
But like you said, I'm a folklorist. So, I mean, you look at it and go, that's a Fey mound.
Yeah, I mean, after a while, you do need to call it something, if not just to talk about it,
Yeah, I mean, you get tired of calling it X. I know other people have said, like, creatures from the Goblin universe. I use Fey to mean, I don't know what the fuck it is.
Right.
So it is a mound that it was, because the area used to be a train station and they bulldozed it over and made like a forest area and the nature's reclaimed it. There is, and that really is what a Fey mound is back in Ireland. It's not just a mound of dirt. It is some man-made structure sort of reclaimed by nature. And that is what it is back in the old country. So, I mean, I look at it and go, all right, that's a Fey mound. And I've had experiences there in the daytime and experiences there at night. So maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe probably not.
Right.
It'll probably be watching me and my hands because I'll be doing a commentary, watching my hands and looking at the dark. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah,
But that is the most that I haven't done one in so long. That's the most this will be the most current one I have done in quite a long time.
So you do it solo sometimes?
I generally like something like that where I'm not far away from home. Yes. Would I ever do a solo hunt in a building or anything? 100% no. Like when I was a kid, it's just like when I was a kid. There was no word for urban exploring. It was mostly called breaking and entering and trespassing.
Right. Yep.
I didn't have a forest to hang out in, so I hung out in abandoned train lots and factories. The south side of Chicago, even in the 80s, was sort of falling apart. The industrial area was sort of done. So I did all that stuff. And looking back, that's colossally stupid. I could have gotten hurt or died so many times and nobody would have found my body.
Right.
So you never go exploring or hunting or hiking alone. You just don't do it.
Yeah, even for practicality reasons.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because listen, okay, no ghosts, no Bigfoot, no crazy man. I fall down and break my leg. Okay, now what? I hope to God I have cell service. I hope to God I have something else, or else it's going to be a long crawl back to my car.
Yeah, exactly.
So no, never do that shit alone.
Yeah.
Never. I know it's very entertaining to watch people do it. I know there's a lot of people who do it on the internet. Dan Bell, I like him. I like him a lot. I don't like when he goes to places because he does a lot of abandoned buildings and stuff. And I have talked to him and I'd said, man, that is the most stupidest thing you can do. And he's like, yeah, I know, but it gets the clicks. And I'm like, all right, buddy. Okay. Like, okay.
Yeah, you know what? We'll get the clicks though. Lockjaw.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Or disappearing. Where did he go? I hope he has enough common sense to leave something to somebody who says, hey, if I'm not back in like an hour or two, here's where I went, send help.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
Because, what was it? I don't know. Like, unrelated. There was a whole movie about that poor guy who went hiking in the Southwest and he fell into a crevasse.
Yeah.
And the motherfucker had to cut off his own arm.
Yes.
He had to cut off his own arm. And if he had been with a buddy, as simple as that, if he had been with somebody else, the story would have ended up different. God bless him. It was a story of triumph and fortitude and all that. But I watched it and all I kept thinking is, dude, all you had to do was bring a hiking buddy.
Right,
That's all it would have taken. Just as simple as that. I know some people don't like it, but no, man. No, don't do that shit by yourself.
There is safety in numbers.
It's just stupid. 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
and it isn't that somebody's going to come out of the dark and drag you to the afterlife. It's literally a lot more practical than that.
Yeah, you can. A lot of these places where you went to, and that's why you don't go to like the bigger places or like, God, I can't remember. The Mansfield prison. They don't let you go in there solo. You have to have a group.
Right.
So, it makes sense because if you get hurt, where the fuck are you? Nobody's going to come and get you. It's the same thing for hiking. If you go out in the middle of nowhere, you better have the means to signal for help or have somebody with you to get help. Same thing.
Yep. Exactly.
So yes, I guess that's the long-winded answer to say no, I don't go by myself. No.
So, what is your favorite piece of equipment to take on a hunt?
I don't have a digital one. I have an old-fashioned tape recorder that I take with me. It's an old-fashioned tape recorder because I think I get more hits on it. So just an old-fashioned tape recorder. Old-fashioned like a Walkman, Yeah. Old-fashioned. Bring that. I have a bunch of, like, I have a REM pod. I have a Spirit Box. I call it a Shack Hack. I have an Obelisk. I have an EMP. Okay, great. They have a bunch of cool lights and stuff. But the best interaction I've always got was EVPs. or not even EVP, like an actual auditory artifact where I can hear it and it's recorded on tape.
Right.
So that's not necessarily an EVP. That's just an actual sound that's coming from God knows where.
Yeah, but people will be like, oh, it's a car going by, or oh, whatever, or I don't hear that.
Yeah. Well, when you start hearing stuff that goes like, Dan's an okay guy, you go, well, that's not the car backfiring.
Oh.
That's not really the channels being weird. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what you would call that, but I'm sure some skeptic would say, oh, it's this, or that I faked it,
Yeah, somebody in my chat said, yeah, people are like, it's all in your head. Yep.
Yeah. Or like you said, or it's faked. I mean, I've had so many people tell me, oh, you faked that. Or like you said, it's a doll. I'm like, look, man.
Yeah. Or you want to hear it, you just want to see it. It's like, are you sure I want to see it? I'm like, in this dark, spooky place. Are you sure I want to see it? Like, honestly, I wouldn't.
Time out. If I want to see it and it happens and I can record evidence of it, I think that's just as interesting. I mean, if you think about it. So how is that manifested?
See, I'm a scaredy cat. So if I get a place and they're like, it's haunted, I'm like, I don't want to see shit. Like, don't say anything to me. don't look at me. Don't like move anything in this room. I'm good. Like leave me alone.
That reminds me of a buddy of mine. He's also a lawyer, and he went ghost hunting with me years ago, and like he was a consummate skeptic, right? And basically the homeowner called because her mom had died. She had gotten everything from her mom's house and put it in the basement. And when she put it in the basement, ta-da, weird stuff started happening.
Right.
For a variety of reasons, right? Was it her mom? Who can say? I don't know. But weird stuff started happening. So my team, like 1, 2, 3, 4 of us, and then we take a friend. I'm going to call him Dennis, okay? We take Dennis along, and Dennis is talking about how the woman's probably still distressed that her mother just died and all this other stuff. We set up the REM pod downstairs, and a REM pod is something you place on the ground or something, and if something with an electromagnetic field gets close to it, it'll go off like a human, like anything.
Yeah.
So we have it down there, and it's going off. It's going off like Christmas. And he comes up with maybe there's an electrical short, maybe there's this, that. Nothing moves him. Okay, nothing. And then we had sent the homeowner went across the street to be with a friend. And we said to her, okay, to do that, but if you need anything, I mean, it's your house, come on in. Well, we were all in the basement, including him, and we hear steps. We hear footsteps on the first floor. So we all think, well, she's back. So Dennis goes to the stairs because we're in the basement. He goes to the stairs and he goes, hey, ma'am, we're down here. And we all hear it. It's the classic get out. I have never seen a grown man move as fast as Dennis moved. He was out of the house and he refused to come back in and sat in the car with the engine running and the light on all night. And that he to this day, he won't talk about it. The only thing he will say is, you're lucky I didn't leave you there that night, because we drove there together.
God.
And I'm like, well, what do you think? And that's all he'll say is, I'm just happy that he stayed there. He stayed there. I'm like, okay, well, there you go.
If I think a lot of some people would be like, oh, she like put a tape recorder somewhere, or everybody makes up an excuse for everything. So I'm surprised he didn't have an answer to that.
Well, that's because it was loud and we all heard it.
It
was no tape recorder. It was loud.
Oh, okay.
And it was no tape recorder, and there was nobody in that house, and he was just gone. He was like Speedy Gonzales and the Roadrunner put together. He was gone.
Yep.
So, I think the people who really, you can be, I think the people most afraid have the most, I don't know, like the surgeon I talked to at the beginning, like the most reason to deny something like that is you're afraid it doesn't fit into your worldview. You can't tolerate something like that. So, of course, you're going to be, no, it's not real. I refute your reality and replace it with my own. I'm like, oh, okay. Sure.
Yeah,
That's
because
fine, I guess.
I know people who are like, if you talk about the paranormal, they're like, oh, get your carbon monoxide checked. Like, something's messing with your head.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say it's not carbon. That does happen, and high EMF does happen. But, I mean, that doesn't necessarily rule out the paranormal, does it? What if it's not that stuff? What about the 1%, 2%, 3% that's not?
Right.
I mean, I would ask those people, okay, come on in. You come on in and check all that stuff before you say anything, because it's easy to dismiss something. Okay, let's go check it out. I'm all for it, man. I'm all for doing that stuff. And then we'll go back in and see. And we'll see what happens,
Yeah. My college
and I bet
actually.
if something does happen, they'd be the first ones out the door.
Yeah, my college actually had I had math class in the basement at my college, and people were like, "Oh, the college is haunted," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure, right," and because they always have like school spirit or like something made up, and but in that basement, I was like, okay, I felt really uneasy in the basement, and there was a thing with like a new elevator, and then the basement had the old elevator that was like creaky, and I'm like, well, okay, the lights aren't like flicker once in a while, it's an old creaky elevator.
Jesus.
Yeah, so like I'm like, maybe it's just like an old part of the building. Like I'm listing off all these things, right? Like maybe like since it's like in the basement area, like all the electricity running through is like creating a Faraday cage. I'm like going through all this in my head, right? One time I'm like,
I mean, then there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. One time I'm going past to the from the my classroom to the elevator. I have like a classroom like on each side of me, classrooms all the way down to the elevator, and once I looked and straight ahead toward my elevator because I want to get the hell out of there. And in one of the rooms off to my left, I see a person like standing by the old blackboard that's in the room. And they're like pointing at something like with a stick. And I'm like, oh, okay. But I thought my math class was like one of the last classes of the day down there. So I actually, stupidly of me, I kind of backtrack and I look in there and there's nothing there. like there's a teacher or somebody down there literally pointing at things on the blackboard. And you want to know how much of a pussy I am? I did not look at the blackboard to see if there was anything on there. I'm just like, no.
Fine. There's nothing wrong with that. The thing about it is, more often than not, in my experience, that's what people see when they see something like the paranormal. It's not some sort of misty, glowing thing. If you're seeing like a full-bodied apparition like the Holy Grail, more often than not, you can't distinguish them from just a person walking down the street. It's just like, okay, that was a person. That was a person. No glowing eyes.
Yeah,
nobody floating.
No, it's nothing terrifying.
It's just like, it's a person.
Yeah.
This is a person. Yeah.
Yep.
So that makes me wonder, like, was there ever, and I can almost say yes, was there ever anybody at any time there who was writing on the chalkboard? And, I mean, you got to say yes.
Right.
So in that case, was it an echo? Was it a ghost?
Right. Yeah. I don't know if it was just like somebody's strong imprint. I don't know if it's like an active ghost. But I heard
we just
things.
Don't understand time.
Yeah.
We just don't understand time.
I actually had heard a lot of stuff about the old part of the college, and I'm like, well, it's old, so people are gonna have like thoughts about it. Like anything over or like built before the year like 1930 or something, people are usually like, oh my god, this has to be fucking haunted. So like like not necessarily. I mean, like, odds are better if there's a site that's been lived on and off for like hundreds of years or whatever. Something probably happened there, somebody's probably visiting there, whatever it is, something soaked up in an emotion or a feeling. And I'm just like, that's okay. But then I saw it and I'm like, okay, is it the wiring that made me see that? Because a lot of times when you're talking about ghosts, you sometimes just see it out of the corner of your eye, or you see a quick reflection, and it's something that you're just like, okay, did I really see that, or am I just tired? Because you don't usually get it like full frontal, like something is standing right in fucking front of you. You just see it peripherally.
Do you know what a tulpa is? It's a Buddhist term. It's called a thought form.
Yeah.
And basically, in Buddhism, if enough people, or if you think about something hard enough, their belief is that it can manifest and be created.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's necessarily out of the picture. There was an experiment, I think, in Wisconsin State University where they actually created a ghost, and they called him Fred. They were able to get data from him, and this is not some goofy internet thing. This happened in the 70s, and the program was eventually shut down. But you go, well, I think they create a thought form. So if a bunch of people believe that the basement is haunted, why doesn't it simply become haunted?
Yeah, and then that brings up like gods. Like, since so many people believe in X God or Y God, then can we create God, whether God was there or not? Yep.
That's true. That's true. It all depends on like the strength of will of the belief, and at that point, like who's running the show?
Right. Yeah, because
like who exactly is running the show?
Yeah, so maybe like our belief like created the gods, and then then that means like anybody that had enough believers had. But okay, let me ask you this then, Atalpa. Sure. After enough people don't believe in it anymore, like let's say a really old religion that had like a god of blood and no mercy and all that, does that mean Atalpa fades?
Some people would say yes. Other folks would say no, it still lives on because it's been given enough energy to do what it needs to do. So it depends. I mean, that's the thing. It depends on the theory. It absolutely depends on the theory. So, yeah, I mean, yes and no, depending on who you talk to.
I think they made a movie out of that experiment. I'd have to actually find the article. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah. Look at a college experiment where they created, quote unquote, a ghost. So yes, it is very, very interesting. It's very interesting.
The mind can do some really wacky shit. It really can.
Pretty amazing stuff. Yes, yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, you have Tibetan Buddhists who go into a cave, a freezing cave. They're dripping with water, and instead of the towels and stuff freezing, all of a sudden everything starts to steam because they've raised the temperature in the room just through meditation. How?
A lot of people would say that's bullshit.
It's absolutely true. Absolutely true. I know they would say it's bullshit, but it is a verified fact. A verified fact. You can absolutely see it. People have written about it. And what they're doing is somehow they're controlling their bodies and the ambient temperature to some extent that they can make freezing water steam.
Right.
I mean,
interesting.
But if you think about that we are just data in a matrix kind of environment, makes perfect sense. It works.
That some people could at least somewhat hack themselves or their environment.
Yeah. Stop trying to hit me and hit me. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Interesting thought.
Like I said, I think the only thing the Matrix got wrong is that there are no meat bodies. We're not in tanks. We're just all data. We're just data.
Well, somebody needs to rewrite my fucking code. This sucks. Please re-roll me. Please re-roll something better. Like don't close the book, but please rewrite the next how much ever long I have left into something much better. Please. My God.
There are a bunch of really interesting and bizarre cases, sort of similar. Like this one guy, he and I got this from, oh my God, I was a kid, and it made 60 Minutes, okay, because I was watching it with my folks, and they told this dude he had terminal cancer and he was going to die. So basically he said, fuck it. He started watching the Three Stooges.
I know, right? So hard.
Drinking alcohol he loved and smoking cigars.
Right?
And guess what?
He didn't die.
He cured. No more cancer.
Yep.
Cured.
Yeah, sometimes it fixes itself.
They said he cured himself with laughter and enjoying his life. Well, I mean, I don't see the difference between that and making the ambient temperature rise. He just did it a different way.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of us carry around so much stress and anxiety that we don't even know where to go with it half the time.
Oh, I think so much of us have so much garbage in our like subconscious or deep code. If you're gonna like the cognitive psychologists are all about sort of at this point comparing us to computers. So it's like, okay, why not? So if we're gonna do that, then okay, it becomes very easy because then we can go, well, then they just hack their own fucking code. They just hack their own goddamn code. Boom, the end. You know.
I do have like a story that isn't quite ghost related, but is ghost related.
Give it to me. I love strange stories. Okay. It doesn't have to be ghost.
Okay, my mom was very sick before she died.
Okay.
At points she wasn't lucid, but one afternoon she was talking to my brother, and she was lucid. They had like a good 3-4 hour talk. Like her fever had gone down because they administered the painkiller, all that stuff. And she looked at my brother at one point and said, "They're here for me, you know. I'm going to have to go soon."
Oh, interesting.
And
okay.
Yeah, and then she listed off my grandma, and she talked about other people being there and, you know, having to go soon. And Tony's like, okay, she must be going back into, you know, problem land. But yeah, she remained, after she said she saw them, she remained lucid for quite the while before she went to sleep and woke up and was back in fever and everything like that. So she swore she saw, you know, like the family members who had gone before coming back for her, and she said that she was near the end of her lifespan.
That is not uncommon. A lot of people have things like that.
Yep.
A lot of people have near-death experiences where they think they have seen something. That is not. That's. I don't want to say it's uncommon, but I mean it's in there. I would say it's kind of a thing, and people believe that you're so close to the border that you can maybe see to the other side, or like or some folks would say, well, it's your brain just trying to comfort itself.
Yep.
Whatever. It's interesting.
Yeah,
you know,
just
I think it's pretty fucking interesting.
People say like the light and whatever is like our brain shutting off. Like, you know, one of those old box TVs, if you turned it on and off a lot, you had that pinpoint of light.
It doesn't say much for us.
Yeah.
It doesn't say much.
But, you know,
All right.
Go ahead.
No. Fun fact that I will drop this here. I died. I don't know if I told you this before, but I died in grade school. I had chicken pox, and because of chicken pox and my grandparents, I died. I did not see any light. I didn't see anything except that your life does flash before your eyes. And I was about 7 or 8, so there not much flashed.
Right. Yeah, I've actually heard that that's actually a fact now. Like where your memory is stored, your brain starts firing off really a lot when you're ready to die.
Yes. Not much flashed. I woke up because basically I had chicken pox. It went into my insides, down my throat. And my grandparents, being like old world people, they thought they could sweat it out of me. And they fried my motherboard. So
Holy shit.
I had a seizure, and I turned off. And then an ambulance came. I'm in the hospital. I was a kid. Kids are more resilient to shit like that.
Right.
I found myself waking up in a metal tub, and I'll always remember this till the day I die again. A tub of ice.
Oh, yeah, they were getting your fever down.
Freezing my ass off. Yeah, freezing my ass off. Naked. Freezing my ass off, and there's a nurse holding my hand, and my mom's on one side and the nurse is on the other side, and I'm like, what happened? So yes, I didn't have any light, I didn't have any weird other thing, but it makes me wonder, like, if time has already been set, maybe the reason why some of us can see shit like that is we've had experiences like the one I just had.
Maybe.
You know? You never know, you know? If I got a glimpse of anything, I don't remember it. I remember I remember my life such as it was passing before my eyes. It wasn't very it wasn't very in depth.
Right.
It wasn't very in depth. I was a little kid. So it's like, oh, summer. Oh, Christmas. Oh,
Right,
summer again.
yeah,
I guess
yep.
it's over. You know?
Yeah. That's one of the things I'm
That's
worried
it.
about when I die, is that I've done so little with my life that, like, instead of like seeing a whole feature-length film flash before my eyes, it's gonna be like the movie poster to someone else's life. Like, oh, here she was, now she's gone by. Like, that's one of the things I worry about.
I will tell you, and I know this will sound weird, but it's something I carry on to adulthood, that the littlest things, you're worried about that, but when it happened to me, the littlest things you realize are meant to be seen by you. Like from the smallest like commercial or tidbit you hear or some interaction you have that you think means nothing is actually like it's part of your life, so it's important. So I guarantee you, you will not have a boring cinematic feature. It will be very interesting because
Yeah,
it's your life.
but it
It
feels
all
like,
has meaning to you.
Yeah, but I'm not like going skydiving or traveling, or I'm not doing any of the big
Man.
things. I'm not even doing any of the medium things anymore. I'm nursing home basically. Like, I get out less than once a week, and it's like my brain is like, wow, you're gonna be seeing a lot of that damn bed you spend your time on. But
It'll still be interesting. It'll still be interesting.
Back to my family though. Like, when my great grandma died, she was on the farm in the farmhouse we had lived in for a few years before we left. And back in the old days, when someone had a stillborn child or a miscarriage, they would not have funerals. They would just bury them on the property.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
That's very old school.
Right,
yes.
yeah. So
that's why you didn't give a kid a name until like two years, a year and a half later, because mortality was so fucking high. We don't realize how bad we had it. We don't realize just how bad things were. Yeah.
So my grandma was the oldest of 10 kids.
Wow, and that's a lot of babies.
That's the ones who survived. My great grandma had lost 10 more.
Wow.
So on the property and the behind the barn on the property is where great grandpa would lay to rest all his little babies who didn't make it. And the day my great grandmother died, there was like this weird mist that was like white and pink that came up over the barn, from behind the barn up over it. And it looked so beautiful, and it was so odd because we had never fucking seen anything like that, like on the farm, like before or after that. That was just that one day she had died. And my mom looked at me and said her children are coming to get her.
Wow.
I mean in a nice way, not like a scary children of the corn. Yeah. Like they're coming to bring their mom home.
Wow.
So
that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was honestly, it was very beautiful. Like, I had never seen this like pinkish whitish mist ever. And it was just in that spot, like so many feet behind the barn. And it was like rising up. And we had no other fog that day. There was no other mist anywhere. It was just that fucking spot behind the barn.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was like, it was like one of the most beautiful things I'd ever seen, but I kept going like, Mom, what the fuck is that? Or like, Mom, what is that? What is that? I was like 10 years old, so I didn't say fuck back then, but I was like, what is that?
Yeah, no, I got you.
Yeah.
And pretty amazing.
Yep, and we could not figure it out, and my mom just looked at me and said, well, that's where her kids are. Like the kids that didn't make it. So.
Wow.
So don't ask me.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. So that was something because, I didn't know where exactly they had been buried at the time because I was, 10 years old. And it's not like my mom said, well, your great grandma had a lot of like miscarriages and stillborn children. So they're all buried back behind the property. She didn't like bring that up, And so, then my mom had to tell me like that's where grandpa would lay his children to rest. The ones that didn't make it. What? So, yeah.
Wow. That's pretty damn amazing.
Yeah, and it's something that I carry with me to this day because it was one of the most beautiful sights I'd ever seen. It didn't worry me, but like I said, the mist was like literally nowhere else, like nowhere else on the property, and it was just very weird that it was all in one spot, and it actually rose up like higher than the barn. And it was just, yes. We had one of those big ass, like old ass gray barns, the ones that are so old their stripping and everything kind of go away, so they just discolor. Yeah, so our like 2-story or whatever barn had the mist rising up behind it, and it was like this pinkish whitish.
That is damn amazing.
Yeah, we didn't take pictures of it or anything. Mom's just like, they're coming and taking her home. So
wow.
Yep.
Wow. What was her, if I can ask, what was her particular religion, her belief, her faith?
My great grandmother was as Catholic as the day was long.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
okay, fair.
like very Catholic.
Okay.
Like she's the kind of Catholic that sex was only for procreation. Yeah, which could explain the 20 kids. Like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's that's a lot, man. That's, I always wonder, like, I mean, the human body, I mean, what the liver regenerates, I'm not sure the uterus does. That's a lot of wear and tear.
I honestly wonder,
body,
if that was like,
that's a lot.
I honestly wonder if she got pregnant like too quickly sometimes.
And how much it like took, how much stuff like that takes off your life.
Yeah.
Just shaves off your life.
Well, she lived to be 80 some years old.
Yeah, but think about it. Could she have lived to be 100?
Possibly.
That's the thing. I mean, yeah.
But
that's the thing I always wonder about. How long could she have lived?
That was one of the things I really can't, like, in my lifetime, that's one of the things I really can't explain away. Like, with my mom, people could be like, well, she was, going back to being not lucid and whatever else, or imagination or whatever it is. But the pink mist, it was seen by me, my brothers, my mom. It was seen by just a lot of people, and it was only in that one spot.
That's not imagination, then.
No.
How do you say that's imagination? I mean, fine, all right. If somebody's imagination, but again, I mean, if you there's belief again. Like if you believe something hard enough, it comes to pass. So
I don't think I would have ever imagined that. Like, honestly, who out of all the things that could be like a message of something else or something afterlife or whatever you want to call it, to have it come from that part of her life where her children had passed on. Yeah, that, because she lost her husband like when my mom was 10. So like,
wow.
So like, he didn't come for her as far as we know. She didn't say like his name or anything like that. It was just after she had died, the day of her death, we had that mist come up.
That is really interesting.
Yep.
Jeez, that's interesting. And it didn't come back up since, did it? That was like a...
I was 10 years old. We had lived on the farm since I was a few months shy of being 7. So that was like 3 years up there about-ish before it happened. And I lived there from the time I was a few months away from being 7 all the way up until I was 23. We lived on that property and never happened again, not one day. Not one fucking day.
Well, that tells you something, doesn't it? I mean, right there. That's something.
Yep. None of my brothers ever saw it again. My mom never saw it again. Nobody who was there that day ever saw it again. Nobody who wasn't there that day ever saw it. It was just us. It was just that part. That's it.
That is not imagination, then.
No.
That's absolutely not imagination.
No.
That's something people say when they just don't want to believe stuff.
Well, they would have been like, it would be light refracting or a weather event or something like that. And it's like, one, I've never seen like pinkish, whitish mist in my fucking life outside of that fucking time.
And you know what? Weather reflecting. Isn't it odd that it took that particular day and that particular time?
Yeah, and that particular fucking
to reflect.
spot.
I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah, what the fuck?
Just that one spot.
What the fuck? Yeah.
Yeah, convenience. What? Convenience.
Yeah.
One hell of a coinky dink.
Fucking insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I am one of the people, I don't really believe in coincidences. I really don't. I am more often than not, and this is true in paranormal, and it's especially true in the criminal justice system, where if all of a sudden you see, oh, well, that's a coincidence, you start digging.
Right,
you
yeah.
Start digging. Yeah, I don't believe in that shit. Oh, wow, well, the boyfriend was also here at the time. Let's go take a look at that.
Yeah. Oh, circumstantial evidence, but it's a mile wide. Yeah.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, so, no. I'm not one. I don't believe in coincidence. I just don't. Never have, never will. Yeah, nope. Pass.
Yeah, and we had a family friend, and after his mom died, he wasn't doing well, and he refused to, like, eat, and all he would do is, like, stay in the bedroom, and, like, 4 days later, his mom actually came to him and said, "You have to get up now. I'm fine. Wow. You have to get up now." And people are going to be like, well, he was starving himself to death, so he was having hallucinations. His wife would make sure he got at least a little bit of food in him, and then she'd, like, leave him alone. And his mom finally said, "You have to stop this."
Well, here's the deal then. If that was the case, like if it was in his own mind, what made him special? Because other people have absolutely fallen down that black pit and not recovered. So what makes him different? You know what I'm saying? What in his brain, if you think, okay, that was just in his brain, right? That was just some way that he was able to pull himself out. It was all in his mind.
Right.
Oh, why him and not, the person who had exactly the same thing happened and they jump off a cliff? Why not them?
Yeah, I honestly don't know. Difference? And he's not a guy that...
I think it was...
Go ahead.
I think it's his mom came back. I think that's exactly what it was.
And he's not a guy that had a lot of like paranormal experiences, so it's not like he's one of those people like me where I'm like, oh, I've seen this and that and this and that. He said, I've hardly ever seen anything in my life. He said, but do you want to know one thing that saved my life? And then he started telling me about, yep.
Yeah, you kind of, some people kind of need their world shaken up so they can carry on.
Yeah,
that is a big deal.
And then I'm like, I wish my fucking mom would come and visit me. Like, come on, tell me how you did that. Like, seriously though. But sometimes I just think that maybe somebody on the other side's like, oh, you'll be fine. It's gonna suck, but you'll be fine. I don't know.
I don't know. I have never, and I don't want to. My family and I were not particularly close.
Right.
Stay there.
Wherever you are. Yeah.
It's fine. Stay there. Hope you're having a good time. Stay there. Not interested. Thank you.
Yeah.
Everything is A-okay here.
But the night my mom died, I woke up like 12:30 at night out of a dead sleep, and I'm just like, what the hell is going on? And that night, that happened to my husband as well, where he woke up just out of a dead sleep. And even though I do that, he doesn't usually do that. And then,
interesting.
Yeah.
So you at the same time.
Gotcha. Oh yeah, gotcha. Pretty much almost to the minute. We didn't see each other because I just calmed myself down and went back to bed. But he said he had the same thing. And
that is a common thing in ESP2. Like a parent will know that their kid's in trouble, or they'll know that a parent's in trouble, or a sibling. They'll be like, "Hey, all of a sudden, I've got to do something. Something's happened." Yeah. That is not uncommon. Yeah, that's not uncommon at all.
But yeah, and one of my brother who died, when he was so sick and I was urging him to go to the damn hospital and he didn't. The night our oldest brother finally drove him because he needed quote unquote antibiotics, I started crying as I was like, I had a cup of cocoa in front of me and I was drinking. Oh, hi. Thank you for the raid. Hi, Otter. How was stream?
Raiders.
It's Otter's place. Hi, Otter.
Hey, Otter. How you doing? We're talking about ghosts and creepy stuff.
Yeah, and psychic stuff and all that. But yeah, I was drinking. I hope you had a good stream with whoever you were interviewing or whatever. So, hello, Raiders. I basically Otter's model sibling and guinea pig for most of his projects. So I am. When he has new stuff to do, I'm like, he's like, Chaluka, I'm doing this now. And I'm like, cool, go for it. Let's go. But yeah, after my oldest brother took our brother and the brother between us into the hospital for antibiotics, because that's what he thought he needed at the time, I started crying. And I started crying just as I was having Coco, because I thought, everybody at this point thought it was going to be like a 2-hour appointment or whatever, and just in and out. And I said to my husband, I don't know why I'm crying, but I just know everything's going to change, and I'm just so goddamn sad. And then he ended up on life support and died.
Jesus, what was wrong, if I can ask? What the fuck happened?
Well, he was 40 years old, and he had pneumonia. And didn't get that checked out.
And didn't get it treated. That's what killed Jim Henson, too. Fucking killed Jim Henson.
And by the time he went into the hospital, by the time he died, he had MRSA all through his chest cavity.
Oh.
They don't know how he got that, but he had at least a couple different things, like pneumonia, that, and the MRSA. And like I said, I told husband, because we had just thought Tony was going in for antibiotics. We were just like, that's it, that's fine. And that's when I looked at him and I was crying, and I'm just like, I'm so damn sad because everything is going to change.
Gotcha.
And it did. It fucking did. And I had a dream about him, like when he was on life support, and it was like he was trying to come out of his body or not come out of his body. And I was looking above him down, and he just kept saying, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I can't. I'm sorry. And I told our oldest brother this, and he said, do you know that when I was driving him to the hospital that night, all he kept doing was saying, I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
Yeah, so and then I'm like, no, I didn't know that. I didn't know that's what he said, because he didn't tell me that.
What did he have to be sorry for? That he just took too long? That he waited too long, or? Because
I think he didn't want to be sick, because he was the one watching our nephew, my nephew at the time, our oldest brother's son. But he also hated when he got sick, so he just kept apologizing. And like I said, I had a dream where he was like trying to emerge, and he couldn't, and he just kept saying, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I can't. And like I said, I told our oldest brother that, like, after everything started going downhill, and he said that's what he said to me that night when driving him to the hospital. That was all he just kept saying is, I'm so sorry, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's so sad, Luke. I'm sorry. Wow.
Yeah.
I hope he was able to move past that. I'm hoping.
Well,
I'm hoping that wasn't the last thing on his mind. Jesus.
Well, yeah. I don't know. He felt very guilty, I think, but and then now. So, that was kind of what I experienced with, like, the brother between me and the oldest one. And the oldest brother and the brother between us were, like, Irish twins, as the saying goes.
Yeah, I know what that means.
Yeah,
okay.
And 4 days under a year apart. And they were attached to the hip. Everyone thought they were actually twins. And my oldest brother hasn't been handling it at all well, but
gotcha.
He told, when we were viewing the body, Talon's body, he was like, you better send me messages in my dreams or something. And I'm just like, I kind of wish that Talon did, because then he'd be able to handle it better. But yeah, I just keep telling my family members, like, go see the oldest one, go on, if you're around, go bother the oldest one. So yeah,
I gotcha.
It's been tough, but so that's some of the around death stuff, quote unquote, I've experienced. I've been close-ish to dying, but I've never had my heart stop, because I get bad infections.
It's a thing.
Yeah, I get really bad infections sometimes, and I get septic.
Oh, okay.
Where all I want to do is sleep. But I've never been
like all the energy is left your body.
Even when they're talking to me, I just go to sleep, and and they're like, we're gonna send you home. I'm like, you send me home, I'm gonna die, and then I just fall right back to sleep while they're looking down at me right in my face. So and it's like, at that point when I get like that, I don't know if I'm too tired to be scared, because normally I'm like terrified to die. Like absolutely terrified to die, but I'm like, at that point I'm not, so I don't know if I'm just that exhausted or if I know like everything's just gonna be okay, but I'm just like, I'm out. So
it's interesting. If I can ask, why, I mean, I know it's probably a very personal question, so if you don't have to answer it, but why are you afraid to die? I've never been afraid to die. That's really interesting. Why?
Aren't most people afraid to die? I mean, aren't you the odd one in this case?
Maybe, I don't know. Am I? I've never. Well, maybe it's because I've done it, and it does. Like here's really what I remember. I remember, it was kind of hectic. I remember being under the covers, and I remember, like, who knows? This is a child's brain that's malfunctioning. And I remember my parents coming in, and my parents and my grandparents arguing in the kitchen. I was in the bedroom. I heard them in the kitchen. And then I remember, which, I mean, take this for what you will, I felt somebody sit on the bed by my feet. And I thought, well, maybe grandma or mom or somebody. I opened up my eyes. I didn't see a damn thing. And then my life flashed before me, and I was in the hospital. The end. So, I mean, I don't know. I what's to be afraid of? I mean, I wasn't in pain.
Oh my goodness! It almost sounds
I guess I'm more afraid of being in pain.
I'm gonna that too. When I go, I don't want to be scared, and I don't want to prolonged painfully. You're right. That's what you can ask for is quick, happy life. Is for all that fun stuff. That was it.
So, I mean, I'm not really. And I say this quite honestly. I'm not really afraid. I'm not.
I'm terrified.
Maybe it's because I've done it once. I've done it once already. It ain't too bad.
I'm honestly terrified.
Trust me, it ain't too bad. But why? Are you afraid of the pain, or are you afraid of?
I think of the unknown.
Oh, okay.
I think it's the unknown.
It is the biggest unknown. It's the unknown that we will ever face in our lives, isn't it? It's the biggest goddamn unknown we will ever face in our lives. But
after what I've experienced, though, I shouldn't be as afraid as I am. Like some of the stories I've told you and some of the things I've experienced, I shouldn't be as afraid as I am. Like, that just should not be a thing. But for some reason, it is. Like, if any motherfucker is gonna get stuck in a really bad way, or something really fucking bizarre, like interdimensional, like ripping, it's gonna be me. It's gonna be
Don't say that! No, it's gonna be fine.
It's gonna be me. Look, something is gonna go wrong.
That's the thing. That's another thing why I don't believe in any of that shit. Like, I don't believe in there's some soul that's trapped here, or like the orphanage burned down and all these children are here. I don't buy it. And maybe that's just me and my trying to figure out the universe, but man, I just don't buy it. I don't buy it. I'm like, why? What would do that? What mechanism would do anything like that? I don't buy it. I don't buy it. So I think you're going to be wonderful. Don't worry about it. It's going to be a grand adventure. I promise. How's that? I promise.
The thing I always think about with death is like, you're at this party and then
you know what? We're VTubers. Should we call it graduating and then you feel better about it?
Well, okay.
We'll call it graduating.
Jumping out of my mortal shell, since I'm a tortoise.
Yeah.
But when I jump out, I always think of like the people who are here and the people who are beyond the veil, because I'm a veil theorist. Okay. So
okay.
So
right,
those beyond the veil, they like hand you off to them. So imagine you're gonna swim across a lake, and like some of your family are on one side of the lake, and some of your family are on the other side of the lake. And when you get down on the other side of the, you jump out of the water, you're with the people on the other side, obviously. And you're still delivered to the people who cared about you and wanted you to succeed. and it's just you're on the other side of the lake now.
Can I ask what would happen? What would you think would happen if the entire human race was on the other side of the lake? Because everybody cared about you.
Yeah, that's not true. I don't.
Oh, why? You don't know? You have no idea. You have no idea. We have no idea what's beyond this code. We have no idea.
Like when you're talking about you being a folklorist, I have studied the worst that humanity has had to offer, and I'm sure you've seen some of that as a prosecutor too.
Yeah.
But
that's one of the reasons why I retired early. Yep.
Okay, so Zohar said, I've heard the reasoning before of you were and have been dead for much longer than you've been alive. Well, technically that's true.
That is very true. That is very true.
But I don't think...
I think it was a quote that I heard. I don't even know if it was a Shakespearean quote, but it was from the Middle Ages. It's like we are a bird flying through a castle into the night. So the bird goes into a room from the night and then leaves the room back into the night. And that's how long we're alive. So very short time, man. Very short flicker. And that's it. The end.
It's a blink. It's a spark. Yeah, that's all it is.
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're 100%. One of the only species that's like, I have to make my mark before I leave. Every other thing's like, well, I'm just going to live until I don't anymore.
Yeah, and I'll be honest. I am a fan of the oldest religion possibly of mankind, Taoism, which says you shouldn't want to. That's just hubris. Hubris. Just go with the flow, man. Just enjoy yourself. Enjoy your time. That's it. You gotta fucking leave your mark. Leave no trail. It's all about leaving no trail.
Actually, on rice paper. I don't see it like that, actually. I see it as we leave a trail, but we just don't know what the trail is because, okay, just follow me on this. Now, right. I grew up as a Catholic until about 14, okay? So follow me here. Do you remember those, if you ever were in the one where they have saints as demigods? Camp. Oh, okay, yes.
Oh, yeah.
So we had saints as demigods, basically. Don't at me. Saints are fucking demigods. They have specific things they help you for. Yeah. They have medallions of their own. Don't at me.
Listen. That's because, as a Catholic, you realize, you want to talk to God? No. You don't get to talk. You got to talk to these underlings first. You don't get to talk to God. And you're like, what the fuck?
Right,
no, man. You want to know. You don't get to do that.
So, you know how people make fun of the Norse pantheon and whatever? Like, oh, you have a god of travel. Haha. You have a god of love. Haha. Well, guess what? That's basically what it is to be.
Pretty much the same. Pick a saint.
Yeah, it's a saint.
Pick a saint.
Safe travels. There's one for animals. That's St. Francis. I used to call my mom that because she has a way with animals or had a way with animals. Yeah, you need a hand stamp to talk to the big guy.
Hey, you want to see the big guy? Yeah, no, you get in line. You got to talk to one of the underlings. There's forms to fill out. You got to wait in line. There's a bunch of things going on.
But do you remember how we would have the stupid, especially around Christmas, the candle ceremony? Where
that was just
they would turn off
mental torture.
But they would turn off the lights and then 2-3 people in the front would have lit candles, and then everybody else would have a fucking candle, and then they would actually light other people's candles, and then you would light the damn candles of your neighbor. Try not to get hot wax on your fucking hands, and it was always those stupid white candles, and I just kind of keep thinking that that's how we live.
Toluca, tell me that's not a magical ceremony. Tell me that's not pure magic in a ceremony.
Religion and magic and science all play in the same sandbox.
Yeah, that's true, man.
I have theories.
True.
I have my theories and my religion and whatnot. Yeah. So
tell me that's not full blown. What do you call it? I can't remember the kind of magic that is. Ceremonial magic, full of pomp and circumstance. Yeah, it is. To get your mind in the right place.
Yeah, and priests have the certain vestments they wear, and certain things have to be blessed. And so I look at our lives as kind of like a candle ceremony, where you light other candles around you, they light other candles, and you go forward like that.
Yeah, like a pinball. I get you what you're saying. Yeah,
because
pinball effect.
The whole thing is everybody wants to be like fucking Leonardo da Vinci or some shit, right? But let's just I mean as far as to endure that hard.
Oh, okay. No, Toluca. I don't want to endure. No.
Okay, but
it's not everybody.
Okay,
no, I don't want to be.
Like
no,
the
I'm
majority.
happy if you forget about me tomorrow.
Okay,
majority.
The majority
I think
of
this
people.
I think this is Western culture you're talking about.
It could
I really
be.
do.
But like, do you know how many like VTubers I see talk about like, I want to make my mark, I want to leave a legacy, I want this, I want that. Okay, so but here's the thing I think of. I think we're supposed to spread our light among those of us who are here. And since that light will keep spreading, kind of like the pollution we leave behind into the ocean, we have microplastics that are going to like change.
Leave our own microplastics of goodness. Okay.
Otter wants to leave a crater. But,
damn right. Yeah. You have left a crater.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. I think we're meant to make things better in the now. Touch people in the now. And
I think you're right. I think it's the little things, the little quiet things we do that has a massive effect on other people. Yeah, I think you're 100% right.
You know, yes. And I think in that way, okay, like let's take Otter for example. Sorry, Odd.
All right, let's take Odd.
Let's say Odd is going to be like a major talk show host like in 10 years' time. Like he's going to make it like so big, he's going to have millions of followers and whatever else, okay?
Okay.
Thanks, Zohar. He's like, touch people, I can get behind that. As long as you're not touching behinds without permission, we're fine.
Yeah.
So I think that
there's some people I'd like to touch with a 2x4.
Right? Yeah, repeatedly and with some force. Yes. Yeah.
That's right.
So I think that we're meant to not only just make things better for each other right now, but also I think if we spread out our light to the people here, like, okay, say Otter makes it big on TV, but let's say YouTube, but he only makes it big for like 3 years. But he inspires like the next big VTubing sensation. Like, let's say somebody saw this, like, Otter who's doing a talk show, and then they become an octopus where they're, like, holding, like, holographic VTubers in each hand, or each tentacle, sorry, no hands, and they're all, like, doing this whole game show thing that was inspired by one of Otter's, and the reason that Otter had the game show is because Dan is fucking nuts, and Dan said, well, what would happen if, and so Dan gives Otter the idea, and then Otter goes on with it to inspire this other VTuber years down the road who we've never met directly.
No, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a snowball analogy.
Yeah, like exactly. Like
little pieces come together and have... No, yeah, I get it. That's true. That is very true.
And it's like, who inspired Da Vinci? And then who inspired that person who went on to inspire Da Vinci? It's kind of like that thing. The avalanche, the snowball, the light, the candle ceremony. And I think we go on forever into the future. And I think
that's a good analogy.
I think that's how.
That's a good analogy.
And I don't think it's when people, because there's two deaths. The time we take our last breath and the time when like our name is last spoken. I don't agree with that. I think we kind of disperse into a field of influence. So...
As far as our effect on other people.
Yes.
As far as like memories and stuff.
Yes, gotcha. And then and then we spread to someone else, and then they inspire the next big thing, or two people down the line from that inspire the next big thing, or somebody's like activism inspires somebody like 2 generations removed to get into activism, whatever it is. I think we disperse ourselves and we move forward. And even
does it have to be that huge, or couldn't it just be a simple act of kindness?
See, that's the thing. You don't know what inspires it.
Well, okay, I got you. Okay,
like the person who inspired Da Vinci. Okay, maybe you'll know who inspired Da Vinci, but who inspired that person to keep going on a bad day? Or maybe that person was given like a cold glass of water and told, hey, your work is pretty good or whatever. And it kept them going to the time they get Da Vinci. But even if it's never, we don't pinpoint ping pong to a big person. Maybe it's one of our stances on an issue that gets dispersed. Maybe it's the fact that, you know, when I was little, like when my mom had no money, like somebody brought us over some food, and maybe that will in the future inspire me or one of my nieces and nephews to get involved in charity work. You don't know what kind of dispersion you will have, which is why I try very hard not to be a fucking asshole in the world. Because because even if I'm never going to be a household name, never going to be big, never going to have like thousands of screaming fans, even if only 10 people read any book I put out at any given fucking time, maybe the right person will read my story or my poem and they will feel less alone, or it will give them a smile or something, and it will help them keep going with whatever they need to. And maybe them keeping going will help someone else keep going, and it will just go on forever until we eventually all fucking kill, you know, everybody and each other because we're really monsters on the inside. But
Or we're all done in by the microplastics.
Yeah, we're all done in by the because the people who have the biggest influence are sometimes not the people that power should be in the hands of. But I do believe that for good or ill, that we move on. Even when our name is no longer spoken, something about us will transcend beyond us to where it needs to go.
I like that. That's cool. Yeah, I'm there. I like that. That's kind of like, as long as you're just a bit of a memory, you keep going. Yeah, that's cool.
But even the people you touch, even if they keep going and don't even mention you anymore, like maybe it was a mannerism or something that passed on or something, and it keeps spreading. I mean, basically, you're a contagion.
No, I get it. Well, you know, like a virus, but that's data too. So, I mean, yeah, it goes full circle. You're just talking about the data propagating. Yeah. I mean, if you think about it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm there. I'm with you.
Yeah, I
got you.
You go on to forever, even if it's the most subtle way, because maybe 100 years down the road, somebody will hear about like this prosecutor guy who did this thing, and it's like, oh my God, I want to get into law. And that person getting into law legitimately saved someone's life. And you never know the effect you're going to have.
That's true. Hopefully they'll hear me from the beyond the grave go, no.
Don't get into that shit. Yeah.
Become a plumber. Be happy with your life.
Mario Brothers. Let's go.
Yeah, that's right.
But then there's Luigi's Mansion.
I hate to do this. It's 9:00. I got to feed my dogs, so they're going to eat my couch. All right. I had a totally blast. Fine. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we got into
so much fun.
Philosophical shit at the end, but at the beginning there was paranormal shit. At the beginning, listen, you'll hear it.
Listen, that always happens because that's why people ask those questions about the paranormal.
Yeah.
Because they want the bigger questions answered, and I don't know if that necessarily aids it, but I think it helps the communication. So yeah, thank you. That was awesome.
Yep. Okay.
I thought that was great.
So next time the Pod Squad wants to play something together, and you and I need to do Fortnite and all that. So we won't be talking about life or death, except for the other squads and our enemies.
All right. And I did put my picture. You have my permission to put it on your Discord. Go ahead, have fun.
Okay. I will do that after the show sometime before bed tonight. Thank you so much, Dan. You take care of yourself.
Oh, my God. It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's so cozy in here. Yep. I could take a nap on the couch. It's so cozy.
Yep. And
all right.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. I'm going to cut it out there. And thank you so much for my guest, Dan Tansky, Monster Hunter. His channel is... if you click on the little app thing in the description, it'll take you right to there. Very sweet man, very oddball, as all of the Pod Squad is. And I will see you on Friday for, I'm thinking Pumpkin Jack or something like that. So, alrighty. Thank you very much, and take care of yourselves. Until next time, you're worth it. You're amazing. Fucking keep going. I don't care if it's a song that keeps you going, your favorite fucking food, a friend, your pet. Just keep going, okay? Because not every day is like this one. All right. See you later, everybody. Bye.